Major life decisions are never easy. They are the crossroads where we stand, looking down paths that diverge into unknown futures. These moments are especially difficult when they don't just involve ourselves, but our families, our work, and everything we've built over decades. The weight of such a choice can feel immense, a burden carried not just in our minds, but in our hearts. That's why what I am about to share wasn't a choice I made lightly or quickly. If you've ever thought about making a major life change, but were hesitant because of your age or your circumstances, then what I have to say might resonate with you. After 30 years of building companies, creating technologies, and raising children in America, I have made the decision to relocate my family to another country. This decision wasn't born out of a lack of love for America. On the contrary, I love this nation deeply. It is a country that has given me immense opportunities and for which I will always be grateful. However, I believe certain values that once defined this nation have shifted in ways that concern me, especially when I think about my children's future. This isn't about politics or taxes. It's about core principles that transcend partisan divides. Principles like self-reliance, freedom of thought, innovation without excessive regulation, and the space to raise children according to your own values. I remember arriving in America as a young man with nothing but ambition and a belief that hard work would be rewarded. The American dream was alive and well, a promise that if you created something of value, you would be allowed to succeed, regardless of where you came from or who your parents were. For many years, my experience confirmed that belief. America was the land where innovation was celebrated, where risk-taking was encouraged, and where the future was built by individuals with vision and determination. But I've watched a subtle shift over the years, a change that has been accelerating recently and troubles me deeply, not just as a businessman, but as a father. The America of opportunity that welcomed me is changing in ways that make me question whether it will offer the same possibilities to my children and to yours. What specifically has changed? There are several fundamental shifts that have factored into this difficult decision, and I feel it is important to explain them. First, there has been a marked increase in what I call a permission culture. This is the growing expectation that before creating something new, you must seek approval from multiple layers of bureaucracy. I built my early companies in an environment where innovation moved faster than regulation. You could develop a technology, bring it to market, and regulations would eventually catch up in a sensible way. That approach gave us personal computers, the internet, and mobile phones, transformative technologies that might never have existed if their creators had needed to navigate today's regulatory environment. Now I watch as promising technologies are delayed or abandoned entirely because their approval process has become so lengthy and unpredictable. Imagine if Thomas Edison had needed to file impact assessments and wait years for regulatory approval before testing each version of the light bulb. America was built by people who asked for forgiveness rather than permission, but that ethos is disappearing. Second, I have observed a concerning shift in how we approach education and child-rearing. When my older children were young, there was a general agreement that parents should be the primary decision-makers in their children's lives. Schools focused on core academic subjects, while values and worldviews were largely shaped at home. That understanding has eroded significantly. Today, schools increasingly see their role as not just educational, but ideological, teaching specific social and political perspectives that parents may or may not share. The partnership between schools and families has in many places become an adversarial relationship, where parents who question certain curriculum choices find themselves labeled as problematic. This is a reality many parents face today, and it is a departure from the principles of family autonomy that I hold dear. Third, I've watched with concern as America's culture of open debate and free inquiry has narrowed. I came of age at a time when challenging conventional wisdom was encouraged, when being provocative or contrary was seen as valuable because it pushed thinking forward. Some of the greatest innovations in history came from people willing to question established beliefs and explore unpopular ideas. That intellectual environment is becoming increasingly rare. Certain questions are now considered too sensitive to ask, and certain viewpoints are deemed unacceptable, regardless of the evidence supporting them. People with unconventional ideas don't just face criticism, which is healthy, but often encounter serious personal and professional consequences. The country I'm moving my family to still maintains a culture where open inquiry is valued, where challenging consensus thinking is seen as beneficial rather than threatening. It is a place where the response to an uncomfortable idea is counter-argument, not attempts to silence. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, I've seen a decline in the value placed on self-reliance and personal responsibility. America was founded by people who believed in solving their own problems and building their own futures. Government existed to protect basic rights and provide essential services, but the primary responsibility for success lay with the individual. That core understanding has shifted dramatically. There is now an increasing expectation that institutions should solve personal problems, protect people from their own choices, and guarantee outcomes rather than simply ensuring equal opportunities. This shift may seem compassionate on the surface, but it gradually undermines the agency and capability of the very people it aims to help. The country where I'm relocating still celebrates self-reliance. It expects its citizens to be responsible for themselves while maintaining a basic safety net for genuine hardship. Its culture encourages solving problems locally and personally before looking to distant authorities for solutions. I want my younger children to grow up understanding that their choices matter, that their efforts directly impact their outcomes, and that they have both the freedom and the responsibility to build their own lives. I want them in an environment that cultivates capability rather than dependency. Let me be clear about something important. I still believe America is an exceptional nation with remarkable people. I still maintain significant business operations here, and I am deeply grateful for the opportunities this country gave me. I continue to hope that the pendulum will swing back toward the principles that made America the world's engine of innovation and opportunity. But as a father, I don't have the luxury of making decisions based on hope alone. I must look realistically at the trends and make choices that I believe will give my children the best chance to thrive. Right now, that means raising them in an environment that still embodies the values that once defined American exceptionalism. Some have asked why I don't stay and try to change things. It's a fair question. I've certainly tried to be a positive voice for innovation, free speech, and personal agency. I've invested in American companies, created thousands of American jobs, and worked constructively with regulators and policymakers whenever possible. But my primary responsibility isn't to fix a nation. It's to raise my children. And just as your generation made difficult decisions to provide the best possible future for your children, I must do the same for mine. I haven't shared our specific destination publicly for privacy reasons, but I can tell you it's a country that still values entrepreneurship, maintains a predictable and efficient legal system, provides excellent education without ideological agendas, and believes that individuals, families, and local communities should be the primary decision makers in most aspects of life. This decision has prompted me to reflect on what advice I would give to others considering major life changes, especially those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who might think it's too late to make significant changes. Here's what I believe. It's never too late to align your life with your deepest values. Throughout history, some of the most meaningful journeys began in the later chapters of people's lives. Moses was 80 when he led his people out of Egypt. Michelangelo was 71 when he became the architect of St. Peter's Basilica. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first book until she was 65. Your accumulated wisdom and life experience aren't burdens that limit your options. They're valuable assets that can help you make better decisions about your future than you could have made when you were younger. Making a major change doesn't require moving to another country. It might mean relocating to a different community that better reflects your values. It might mean redefining relationships with family members to establish healthier boundaries. It might mean discovering a new purpose that engages your unique gifts and perspective. The key isn't the specific change you make. It's the willingness to acknowledge when your current situation no longer aligns with what you know is right for you, and taking thoughtful action to address that misalignment rather than simply accepting it as inevitable. My decision to move my family isn't about abandoning America. It's about ensuring that my children grow up in an environment that nurtures the values I believe lead to flourishing human lives: self-reliance, freedom of thought, respect for family decision-making, and the space to create without excessive permission structures. I still love this country. I'm still grateful for everything it gave me. And I sincerely hope the pendulum swings back toward the principles that made America the world's most dynamic, innovative, and opportunity-rich nation. Perhaps, years from now, we'll return to an America that has rediscovered its founding ethos. Until then, I've made the difficult but necessary choice to raise my family elsewhere, not as a rejection of America, but as an affirmation of the timeless principles that once made America exceptional and can do so again. It's about preserving what America meant to me when I first arrived, a place where freedom of thought, speech, and action allowed for possibilities that existed nowhere else. I hope my children can someday choose America for themselves, experiencing it as the land of opportunity and innovation that I once did. Until then, I will continue returning regularly, maintaining connections, contributing where I can, and hoping for renewal. Not as a critic standing in judgment, but as someone who still believes in America's capacity to rediscover its foundational strengths. Thank you for listening.